Welcome back to Session 0, where I mostly discuss Dungeon World. I've been away for a while because I've been concentrating on my other YouTube channel, Solo Marvel Champion. While I was away, I didn't even notice that I'd surpassed 500 subscribers. Thank you everyone for subscribing. I really didn't think I'd ever hit 500. I'm going to do some solo play today, and hopefully I'm going to do some a lot more often. Before I do though, I want to talk about some lessons I've learned playing card and board games solo, which have helped me understand how I think I need to be role-playing solo. Skip to this time if you only want to see the solo play, but I ask that you stick around and hear what I have to say about my thought process. Alright, if you're listening to this, thanks for sticking around. I play a small collection of solo board games fairly often, and 3 solo card games very often. The game I play most and have a second channel for is Marvel Champions. From recording those games, I've made a huge observation and learned a few lessons. The observation is about time. One video for Solo Marvel Champion takes me about 90 minutes total from the start of recording to the rendering stage, while one video on this channel might take a day and a half or longer to produce. That includes the writing of the script with multiple revisions, recording the script and editing the audio, which typically takes the longest, and finding or creating the visual elements for the video, a lot of which I do while writing. But once all of that is done, laying out the video and getting to the rendering point is fairly quick. So what I want to take away from that observation is that I'd like to produce videos for this channel as quickly as I do for Solo Marvel Champion. There are actually 2 ways I can achieve this. The first is just recording off the cuff while looking at a book or other materials, as you've seen in my 5 Things videos. The second is more solo play, and that's where the lessons learned from Solo Marvel Champion can help. The first lesson I learned is that each game, or session if you will, has a finite and well-defined objective. I'm terraforming Mars before time runs out, repairing my spaceship before I'm sucked into a black hole, or defeating the villain before they can complete their schemes or defeat me. So the first lesson is, 1 session equals 1 immediate goal. That's not to say I plan to achieve my goal during the session. I'll still play to find out what happens. It only means it's a goal which I can achieve in a single session, because it's immediate and not open-ended. The next lesson is about scope and scale. The campaign-style card and board games I play are not open-ended. An Arkham Horror campaign is 8 scenarios long, unless my investigators meet their end before that. In Thunderbolt Apache Leader, I have a set number of game turns. And while I think Marvel Champions is best for one-off games, it also has 3 and 5 scenario campaigns. Anytime I've started a campaign on this channel, I lose interest because it's so open-ended. So the second lesson is start with a number of sessions in mind, and I like the number 5. To put that another way, to avoid losing interest, 1 campaign equals 5 sessions. That gives time for a story to emerge, but doesn't give a lot of time for growth, so I'll probably just roll a d6 for starting level to provide some extra moves. Since we start a Dungeon World game in medias res, I can decide right at the end of a session or between sessions what the next goal will be, and just start that next session there. The final lesson is about order of operations. In Thunderbolt Apache Leader, you set up the campaign before choosing your aircraft and pilots. In Lord of the Rings, it's pretty much impossible to build a deck that will cover multiple scenarios in a story path, so you basically build a new deck for each scenario. Arkham Horror is similar. You generally, although not always, choose a campaign you'd like to play, then pick an investigator and build their deck to tech against that campaign. Now, in Dungeon World and really any RPG, we create our characters first, and a good GM either creates the objectives based on them or customizes a published scenario to fit. What I want to do is flip that for solo play, just like Lord of the Rings and Arkham Horror do. We'll start with some place significant with creatures big and small pursuing their own goals, create an immediate goal based on that place and those creatures, then create a character with a reasonable chance of achieving that goal. This is cinematic. In pretty much every movie you watch, the main characters have a reasonable chance of achieving their goals. So the third lesson is, use setting to create a goal and your character. Alright, we're almost there. Now I can make a place with creatures big and small, a goal for my character, and my character. Let's go back to the second World Building Wednesday video I made, the Sukotan prison pits, and use my L.A.N.D acronym to define one. For an immediate goal, let's just say escape the prison pit. As for my character, I want a high strength for climbing and a decent wisdom for discerning realities, so let's make a fighter. I rolled a d6 and got a 3, so my fighter, Cobb Jameson, will start at level 3. Maybe Cobb will escape and maybe he won't. So let's write 2 stakes questions which remind us to play to find out what happens. Will Cobb escape? And for what crime was Cobb imprisoned here? I don't know the answer to that yet, either as the player or as the GM. And now, I'm ready to have a fun solo session with an immediate goal. Alright, let's get started. One of the things I want to learn before we even start is what sorcery smells like. That is in my details, the smell of sorcery. So I did have this idea that maybe sorcery smells like ozone. And if it doesn't smell like ozone, maybe it smells like lava. So I'm going to ask the Oracle, does it smell like ozone? Yes, it does. It smells like ozone with a tinge of burnt, burnt lava. So it's ozone with some burn smell in it as well. And ozone kind of has this, pure smell, this cleansing smell to it. So I like that idea that in this pit full of just stink with unwashed bodies and human waste and all of this stuff, that you can tell sorcery is about to happen or is happening by this scent of ozone. So we're going to start in medias res, and one of the moves I have on here is provide food for all. I think when food is provided, there are kind of like warlords set up in here. The bandits that are in this pit are going to try to take it for themselves. So I think there is this, smell of ozone, and bam, the food arrives. And as, people run up to get this food, loaves of bread, chunks of cheese, skins of water, etc., maybe there's some dried meat, maybe the occasional fresh piece of fruit or vegetable. These people, scramble towards it, but one big bandit, Yev, and I like that he's vengeful. Let me write this down. Yev, vengeful. He is going to just push people away. He's strong. He moves people out of the way. No, this is my food. And Cobb, he's not going to have that. Oh, that's funny. That's actually a bandit too. I just noticed that. He is not going to have that. He's like, no, this is food for everyone. I'm getting mine. And he's just going to come up and throw a punch at Yev. Let's see what I can get. He does have a +2 strength. Ooh, he just makes a 7. He's going to take his attack, but the bandit Yev is going to get an attack as well. So I'm going to roll a d10 and a d6 at the same time. My damage is the d10. Oof. I deal no damage because it hits the bandit's thick hide, and Yev hits me for 6. Takes me down to 17 just like that. Now, I think in this case, this probably bloodied Cobb's nose. He wipes his nose and it goes all down his arm, and I don't think he is going to continue in this course. He tried, he went for the food, and he got hit hard. So he is going to just back off. Now, a lot of people saw this exchange. One of them, a merchant, and you can tell probably just because of his clothing that before coming into this pit, he was a merchant. He I want to say maybe he is working with Yev. This merchant, let's call her Brienne. Let me mark bandit for Yev. Brienne is a merchant. Brienne is going to walk up and just look Cobb in the eye and say, hey, I can get you some food, but we need to make a deal for that. And Cobb just looks at Brienne and says, what kind of deal? I don't have anything. Brienne says, I know, and I don't think Brienne maybe is working with Yev. Let's ask, is Brienne working with Yev? No, that's good. No, and Brienne is working against Yev, which I think is even better. He says, I don't have the strength to overcome Yev, but you look like you probably do. I think you just got a bad exchange there. So here's the deal. If you knock Yev down a peg, we can take that food, and I'll offer you, 40% of whatever food we can get from Yev. Now, Cobb doesn't have any food at the moment, so 40% sounds like a pretty good deal. He's going to wipe his nose again. It is bleeding pretty badly. And he's going to go up to Yev, and Yev is vengeful. He's going to say, I don't think you heard me. I'm getting some of that food. So let's try again. He has a +2 strength. If he can get a 10 here, it would be good. Even if he gets a 7 to 9, hopefully he won't take a huge wallop like he did last time. 7, that is a 9, so we're going to have another exchange of blows. He is going to make his attack with a d10. Yev has a d6. Now, Yev is strong. He hits for another 6. But during the exchange, Cobb deals 4 damage. 4 minus his 1 armor is 3. He knocks Yev out. Vengeful Yev is knocked out. And Cobb is down to 11 hit points. Now, there is a little bit of a cheer as some other people here in this area, like the fact that Yev is knocked out. Everyone is going to rush to get some food, including Brienne, including Cobb, and they are going to get a little bit of food out of this. Now, there's no way to probably separate 60-40 on this food, so we're just going to say for the time being that everyone has their fill of what is available. There's probably still some fighting over what was left, yes, but everyone in the end gets, a little bit of food. So as Brienne and Cobb are sitting together eating, she is going to ask him, what are you in for? Now, I don't know, as the player or the GM, why Cobb is here. I like the idea that Sukkot is just a really corrupt place, and whoever arrested him basically saw his signature weapon, which he doesn't have now. He literally has nothing, and wanted it, and that's why he was arrested. Is that the case? Yes, he was arrested because it wasn't the arresting officer who wanted his signature weapon. It was someone in power above this arresting officer. So maybe a noble. And that's kind of what happens here in Sukkot. And Brienne explains this to him. Yeah, that's just what happens. If you have something that someone else wants, it's real easy to get on the wrong side and end up here in this pit. think this is a good time to think about, the pit. See if I can remember any talk of the Sukotan prison pits, and we're just going to spout lore here as I, dig through my memories. See if I know or can remember anything about this pit. I have a +1 in int. Well, now I get a high roll. I get a 12 on that roll, and I get the full rundown of the Sukotan prison pits. I know that this is a place where torturers take glee in using sorcery to torture the people, and the form of that torture is basically the hope of escape. I do have 2 moves on here, or 2 areas for the Sukotan prison pit. First landing, second landing. Basically, the sorcerers will teleport you to the first landing, which cannot be climbed to. And then from there, you have to climb to the second landing, get a rest if you can. And if you take too long, they're going to zap you with some sorcery and make you continue the climb. The second bit of the climb from landing 2 all the way to the top is a little more difficult. Cobb knows that is how he needs to escape. He just doesn't know how he gets about or goes about being chosen or selected for torture. I wonder if Brienne knows that. Does Brienne know if there's any way to force the issue, to make one of these torturers pick you? No, and really it's just kind of completely random. So you just kind of have to exist in here until you're selected. Now, I'm going to say a day goes by. What happens? Okay, 1 day goes by, and I think they're going to bamf in some food again. Is Yev going to try to hoard the food again? No, and Cobb hit him so hard that he's going to kind of stay away from the food and wait for kind of everyone to get their pick, or for at least Cobb to get what he wants. Now, I do want to do something here just for fun to see if anyone notices. Cobb is going to try to make an offering to Yev. He is going to throw him a chunk of cheese and like a half or a quarter loaf of bread just to kind of make peace with him. Does Yev accept this? No, he does not. In fact, he just watches the bread and cheese soar towards him, and it hits the floor at his feet, and he just kind of spits on him and walks away. Yev is vengeful. He is not going to let Cobb off that easily. Who sees that? Someone in the prison is going to see that. That's going to be an acolyte. An acolyte of some deity. Dunstan. Dunstan is steadfast. I like that. And I think maybe his deity is an evil deity. And perhaps that is why he is in the pit. So he's going to come over and say, that was a good gesture, but you don't know Yev, and you don't need to antagonize him. Cobb will reply, I'm not antagonizing him. I'm trying to make up with him. I knocked him out, but we don't need to be at each other's throats in here. We have enough problems. And as this conversation is happening, we smell the smell of ozone with that tinge of burn that tells us that sorcery is happening, and one of these torturers in red robes bamps into view and just points at Dunstan. Dunstan knows that he has been selected for torture. Now that has Dunstan, in a tizzy immediately. He starts to sob and plead, please don't do this. My deity will reward you. If you please just let me stay down here. And as he's saying this, the torturer points at him and he is teleported to the first landing. Now, when he gets up there, he starts crying, please, please let me down. Please, my God will reward you, please. And the torturer just laughs and disappears. He bamps himself back away. So we're going to draw 2 cards, one for first landing, and then maybe one for second landing. Eventually, Dunstan is going to work up the courage to try to make the climb to the second landing. Does he make it? Yes, he makes it, and it looks pretty easy. He didn't have any trouble get from first landing to second landing, and everyone in the pit below starts to cheer. He's going to do it, he's going to do it. But now comes the second landing. Second landing is a little more difficult, and he again starts pleading to no one because the torturers are not even there. Please, just let me down. I'll be good. I won't stir up any trouble. My God will reward you. Please let me down. No answer. He's going to try to make the climb from the second landing out of the pit. Does he make it? Yes, he does. He makes the climb. He gets to about the halfway point and he stumbles a little bit. He goes to make a grab and his hand slips, and just by the strength of his left hand he's able to keep himself on the wall, and then slowly, maddeningly, he makes the climb and gets to the top of the pit, and everyone below is cheering. He made it. He has escaped. And now Cobb knows that it is possible to make this climb and get out of there. So now he is just going to wait his time. Let's roll to see how many days it takes for him to be chosen. One more day. It's the very next day. And again, the food comes. I think the food comes, and this time Yev is going to come at Cobb. He's not going to let him just take the food and be the big dog here in this prison. Yev is going to come at Cobb. He throws a punch, and Cobb cannot react fast enough. He tries to punch, but as he is just raising his hand up for the punch, Yev hits him for 6 again. He has rolled a 6 every time. That knocks our man down to 5 HP. And he's woozy. He is, his nose is bleeding again. And Yev, this vengeful bandit, is just standing over him. And he spits in his face and he says, "This is my food." And basically, he's the only one that gets any of the food. He hoards the food. Everyone in there suffers because of this exchange. So, sitting on the side, Brienne comes to console Cobb, and Cobb doesn't want to be consoled. He pushes her away, and he's in pain. But as he kind of, gets comfortable in a place, knowing he's probably not going to be able to eat today, We smell the smell of ozone, and a sorcerer comes in, points at Cobb. Cobb has been selected for torture. And we know I saw one person make the climb. I almost hope that Cobb doesn't make the climb, because then I get to really explain the torture. But he is bamped up to the first landing. And I don't know whether to just... I mean, it's not a quote-unquote strength check. I would say it's defy danger. I could make a custom move for the climb, and maybe I should have done that ahead of time. But I think we're just going to do defy danger with strength. He's going to try to make the climb from first landing to second landing using his strength. That's a 6. He strains and struggles. It looked so easy for this other man to do it. And maybe it's because of the hit he just took. He got hit hard. As he goes with his left hand to make a handhold, he relaxes with his right to move it, and the left hand just slips. It slips and he falls. Now, this is not a very a very high fall, but he is going to take some damage. He takes 4 damage from the fall, and as he is laying there broken with 1 HP left, the sorcerer bamps in and laughs at him. And as he is laughing, he is using sorcery to heal Cobb's body. And that is really the torture. You have the hope of escape, but if you don't escape, you make this fall and you hit the ground hard, and it's never going to kill you. It's going to hurt real bad. And then the sorcerers are going to slowly, maybe even painfully, heal you so that you can try to make that climb again. And eventually, after the second or third climb, you are terrified of this climb. You want to escape so badly, but you don't want to make the climb because it hurts so bad when you fail. So he's sitting at 1 HP. He did not escape the pit. I don't think I want to end there, though. I want to have another scene with one more person. A hedge wizard. Ooh, I like that. Her name is Elsie. Elsie is persistent. Let's write that down. Elsie is a persistent wizard. And she is going to ask him what it felt like. What did the climb feel like? Because she's never had to make the climb herself. She wants to learn about the climb so that she can, as well as she can, make the climb herself when she is selected. Now, she does have a little bit of magic, and that's probably the reason Cobb hasn't seen her yet. While everyone else is running for the food, she is making her own food. She's using magic, maybe not to make her food, but to grab some of that food from the stack without anyone seeing, teleporting some food magically to herself. She's going to offer to do this for Cobb, magically steal some food from Yev, but the price is learning about the climb. Everything Cobb can tell her about the climb, she wants to learn. So that move is cast almost the right spell for a price. I think she casts it. She cast it just fine, but it doesn't go unnoticed. Yev notices the food in his stash disappearing. And he knows there are a couple people in this pit who have the opportunity or the ability to do that. There are 2 people in this pit that can do that. Elsie can do it, and there's a moody old wizard named Hazrith who can do it. So he is going to set out to find these people and see who is stealing his food. And I think I'm going to end there. Cobb's goal was to escape the prison pit. He failed in this session. He is going to be able to try again at some point. But he's made enemies. He's made an enemy of Yev, and he has made friends with Brienne the merchant and Elsie the wizard. But that association with Elsie may be bad for her because Yev knows that Elsie is only one of 2 people who could steal his food magically. So that'll be the end of this session. Cobb did not escape. So let me know what you think about the session. Let me know what Cobb's next goal should be. I personally think his next goal should be to take out Yev. He needs to take out Yev to protect the people that can maybe help him, but also Yev is a bad dude, and Yev could end up killing Cobb if he's not careful. I don't know. Cobb is sitting at 1 HP, and I think through some healing of the sorceress torturers, he is going to be healed some, and that'll be his starting HP at the start of next session. Let's say he was healed 7, so he is up to 8 HP now, and that's where we're going to start the next session. All right, thank you so much for watching today. Like, sub, comment, all the things that YouTube likes, and I would appreciate it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.